Hello again, class. I wanted to show you a few more Excel tips and tricks relevant to your first problem set here, specifically for problem 1.3, because there is one tricky element here. 1.3 is asking for a frequency distribution and percentage distribution, a histogram, percentage polygon, cumulative percentage polygon, just for a single variable in the data file here, and that would be the years of experience. The only catch here is that variable, if you go to your data file, is a continuous variable. It's obviously numerical as well. And it's this one here that is of interest, the experience column. Essentially what we need to do though is that we need to take this continuously measured variable and chunk it into categories in order to get our frequency distributions, cumulative frequency distributions, and histogram, as well as the percentage polygons. So how the heck do we do that? Well, there's this concept in Excel called binning, or creating bins. And what I'm going to show you here may not be the most efficient or effective way, but this is how I know how to do it, and it works. So I am imparting this knowledge onto you. So if we look back at the questions, the first part of the question is asking you to construct a frequency distribution and percentage distribution. And I wrote down some steps here. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to create the frequency distribution table, and then from there it's just going to be a matter of a couple clicks to create the graphs and histograms. Alright, so here we go. So one of the things you need to know is the top and bottom values, or the min and max values of that whole range for this experience variable. Now you can do this one of two ways. The easiest way that I know of is simply we're going to go to our data analysis tool pack, and this should be familiar to you. Is we're going to go to the descriptive statistics. We're going to make sure our data is selected here, which it is, and our summary statistics box is checked, and we're simply just going to click OK, and then here we go. This is what is of interest to us here, the minimum and maximum. This is our range. So we have a range of 0 to 18. We now need to chunk this range into intervals or bins. Now one of the easiest things is we have a nice even number here, and part of this is manual, and I apologize for this, but think about how many intervals or bins you think would be useful. And we got an age range of 0 to 18. Perhaps it'd be easy to chunk this into, say, intervals of 3 years. So 0 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 12, 13 to 15, 16 to 18. Makes sense, right? Well, Excel doesn't know how to recognize those bins. You can do separate count ifs if you want, but the easiest thing to do with bins in Excel is to use the end value for each of these ranges. So here they are. It says 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. This corresponds to the end point of each of these ranges. So we are ready now to build our frequency table. So we are going to go back to our data analysis tool pack, except now we're going to go down to this function here called histogram. We're just going to click OK. Now it's asking for our data, which is right here. Now it's asking for our bin range. Now this is what's interesting. This is where we need these single values here of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I'm checking the box for labels because I highlighted this bins value here. And then the only thing we're going to do here is we're going to check this box for cumulative percentage, because that's going to do the work for us as well. And we're just going to click OK. And look what we got. Here's our bins. Here's the number, and here's the cumulative percent. So just to make this visually easier for us, we're going to go back and get these ranges here. Now I typed these in, so you'll have to create those as well. And we're just going to paste those in. Okay, so now we know that for years 0 to 3 years, there's 591. For years, 10 to 12 years of experience, there's 75. No, so the only thing that's missing in here is simply the frequency percent. So how do we get that? Well, the frequency percent is simply this number divided by the total. So to get the total, we're going to change this to total, and we're simply going to sum up these values here. We go here, we're going to do the auto sum. Should be 1080. There it is. So to get the frequency percent, like I said, it's this number divided by this number is simply the equal sign, this number divided by, which is the backslash, the total. Now, one little trick here. We're going to put our cursor in front of that value of B8. Now listen carefully. I'm going to press the F4 key. And look what happened. It put a $sign in front of the B and the 8. And what that did is, this is what's called in locking in an absolute value, or absolute reference. Basically, it's saying if I copy and paste that formula anywhere else, it's going to retain this number of 1080 in it. So just to repeat it, it was the first number divided by the total. I'll put my cursor in front. I'm going to press F4. I'm going to press Enter. There's our number. And it's just copy and paste this. I can either do copy and paste, or what I like in Excel to make things easier is when you highlight your cursor and grab the little corner of the box and drag it down, there's our percentages. Now obviously we need to express those as percentages, so we're going to go up here and press the percent key. Voila! There is the first part of our question, the frequency distribution and the percentage distribution, as well as our cumulative frequency distribution. It's all done. So the only thing that's left to do is to create the graphs. And so we need a histogram, a percentage polygon, and a cumulative frequency polygon. So let's start with the histogram. Now the difference between a histogram and a bar graph is simply the space between the bars. Some people will also say, well, it's the type of data, typically categorical data versus continuous data. Well, we basically turn continuous data into categorical data. Sounds like semantics, but it's really not a big difference if you use a bar chart versus a histogram. So to create our histogram, we're going to highlight this column. We're going to press the Control key. Now you can either use this frequency or the percentage frequency. Let's just keep it easy and do this one as well. Oh, I gotta redo that. Or let's do just both like this. We're gonna go to Insert, Column Graph, 2D. There's our histogram. Well, technically it's a bar chart, but to easily make it into a quote-unquote histogram, we're gonna format the data series here, where it says series, gap width. We're going to change that to 0. Close it. Now look, we have these big fat bars. Now normally you can just delete that series legend, put in a title, label your axes, and you're good to go. So there is your histogram. Now basically the frequency polygon is just a line graph of this information. So to recreate that, we're going to highlight our data again, go to Insert, go to Line Graph. There is our frequency polygon. Sorry about that. So again, put a title, label your X and Y axes, and it's done. Now the only thing left to do is to create a cumulative frequency polygon based on this data here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to highlight our ranges here, press the Control key so we can highlight the cumulative percentages. We're going to go to Insert, and again this is just going to be a line graph. There it is. Let me move it down here. I'm going to get rid of this. Now one thing with this is you probably want to change this to 100%. And that would be our maximum. We'll just change that to 1.0. And there's your cumulative frequency polygon. And that's 1.3 complete. So hopefully this was easy to figure out. And if you have any questions, just ask.